I'm Leo. I'm work here at the North Central Research Extension Center. Today I'm gonna put down what's new in the field, the latest agronomy research for soybean growers. Mostly what we have been doing here in Minot for the last 2 or 3 years. I'm gonna try to cover. We we have been doing a lot of research on soybeans here. I have probably 45 minutes. I'll try to do the most of the research we did here in the couple of years. But if you have any other questions or curiosity what we do here, just give me a jingle or email me. Okay. So the first topic we're gonna talk about phosphorus. Um, why it matters? It's because phosphorus on soybeans is very important for root development, nodulation, photosynthesis, energy, like we were discussing before in terms of ATP, because phosphorus is part of the ATP. And regarding to phosphorus uptake, usually, uh, at the early stages of the soybeans, it's when the soybeans uptake the phosphorus quickly compared to the other stages. Okay, that's why some people probably the question that pops up about phosphorus as a starter can be a benefit. Okay, that might be related to that because all the uptake studies for phosphorus you can see uh, at the early stages the uptake is quick but not higher. Okay, usually is a small amount but it's fast. So what we need to do is to guarantee that we have phosphorus in the soil solution so the roots can take up. Okay, and the phosphorus uptake is very higher in terms of amount when the soybeans reaches V10 to R5. So R5 is the peak of everything on soybeans: light interception, water use, nutrient uptake, and everything. So for V10 to R5, 75 to 80% of total phosphorus is taking up on that time frame of growth stages. Okay. So, and then in 2023, we decided to update the phosphorus rates for soybeans because we need to update our recommendation every once in a while. Okay, preferably every 5 to 10 years, because we have new varieties, we have new yield potential. So all of those modifications in the environment, including like variability on uh, on uh, on moisture and everything. So the genetics will respond differently. So we need to do some upgrades and updates uh, once in a while to keep the farmers informed, and the agronomists can have better information for the decision making process. So in the span of 2 years, 23 and 24, we had 16 phosphorus rate trials across the state. As you can see, the majority of the trials were in Western, Mohall, Minot, Beulah, and Dickinson. So we have one in Bremen, in Central, and some of those in the eastern corner of the state, southeast. What we did, actually the results I'll show you today is from Mohall and Minot, from the results we had. So the phosphorus rates we had 0, 23, 46, 69, and 92 pounds an acre. All the fertilizer were surface broadcast at planting, and we measured yield in Minot and Mohall, and I'm going to show you the statewide uh, yield as well, just to give an idea. Uh, so Mohall in Minot, Minot is kind of orange here, and Mohall is blue. So Minot, basically, we didn't have uh, too much yield increase, so there's no significance in here. Okay, so basically that's 10 or 20 pounds an acre didn't do anything. Okay, If you put on economics, this one, of course, uh, even 10 will be negative. In Mohol was a little bit different. Okay, so we got 31 bushels an acre with zero, and we were up to 40 when we got 70 pounds. Okay, but on average we got 36, 34.6. So in Mohol we had response, a little bit response. In Minot we didn't. In terms of statewide, okay, this is all the points we had across the state, and this is how the soybean responded according to the soil test. Remember what our we have our threshold that Anna mentioned it before. Okay, so we were able to achieve the highest or economical yield or relative yield, which is 90% of the highest, with 12.4. Okay, so that means the 7 or 8 that Anna mentioned before, that's still our threshold. So our our conclusion in this study is probably our thresholds that we currently have for soybeans won't change. Okay, it's gonna be the same. And if you need to add 10 or 20, it's based on your soil test, yield potential, and of course economics. Okay, to add or not. Uh, okay, another one is soil acidity. Um, so soil acidity is becoming an issue in North Dakota, especially in the western, especially in the long term, no-till in western North Dakota because of the nitrogen management. The nitrogen reaction in the soil makes the acidification process to start. But the soybean response to soil acidity can be very different depending on several factors, including soil pH, aluminum levels, and organic matter. Okay, and even though we had a considerable amount of data regarding to like plot scale, we don't have a regional on-farm data relating to soybean yield versus soil acidity. Okay, so in 2024, we put down this project funded by North Dakota Soybean Council. Just to be clear, 100% of what I'm showing here today is funded by the North Dakota Soybean Council. Okay, so we sampled 30 fields in western North Dakota. They should have no till at least for 10 years. In the same field, the soil pH should be adequate and low pH in the same field. We did the soil sample at 0, 3, 3 to 6, and 0 to 6 inches depth. And then we tested for soil organic matter, aluminum, pH, calcium, magnesium, and we calculate the aluminum saturation. We're not going to use the aluminum uh, number like you see in the analysis, but we're going to do the saturation because it makes more sense when we evaluate the impact of aluminum on soybeans. And so we harvest the soybeans on those areas, low and adequate, and we calculate the yield, oil, and protein. And for data analysis, I'm going to show you the relative yield and how they related to soil acidity parameters. Okay, so this is the here in the bottom is the soil pH, and here on your left side is soybean relative yield. I think I need to use a pointer. Let me do a pointer pretty quick here.
We can see the
Can you?
mouse. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's right here. I think it's worse. Laser pointer. I think it's better now. Okay, so we have soil pH on the bottom, and on our y axis we have the soybean relative yield. As you can see here, I like to say this looks like a shotgun, okay? Because it's all spread out. There's no correlation uh, between soil pH and real and soybean yield. So you can see here high yields on low pH, and you can see even high yields over here with 7. Okay, so that means the soil pH is not a good parameter to define if the soybeans responds. Okay, so if you have soil acidity problem and you want to cut off your nitrogen 1 year or two just to alleviate the issues, well, soybeans can be a very good option. Okay, because there's no negative impact on soil pH on soybean yield. And when we look at the aluminum, okay, I'm using here aluminum saturation instead of aluminum that we get in analysis, because the aluminum saturation, it will tells us how much aluminum is in the complex of charges in the soil. Okay, makes more sense to evaluate instead of the numbers. And it's the same way. So even if we have very low uh, aluminum saturation here, we have a wide range of relative yield. Okay, what is the driver for that? Why we have those differences? One is organic matter. Okay, I didn't brought up the graphic here, but usually when we see this, okay, high yield, low organic matter, and even with the high aluminum saturation like here, okay, this is because the organic matter is probably above 4%. So if you have a conditions, even if you have high aluminum, low pH, but your organic matter is high, so the soybeans will be not so much affected. And just remember, it's a no-till over 10 years. Okay, just make sure you are in that context for this to relate to your operation. Okay. Uh, Now we're going to talk a little bit about sulfur. Okay, so there's a lot of questions regarding to sulfur. We have been doing a lot of sulfur research on canola, wheat, corn, and I did last year on sulfur here in Minot. Why is sulfur getting a lot of tracks? Okay, so soybeans is basically we look at yield, but also we look at oil and protein, and sulfur is very important for proteins and enzymes. For amino acids, it's a precursor. It's a part of the amino acids, especially cysteine and methionine. So if we have lower amino acids, can lead us to a lower protein and of course lower yield. And in some cases, if the sulfur deficiency is so severe, can inhibit rhizobia nitrogenases. So that what that means is uh, the bacteria will not change the oxygen and nitrogen to with the plant. That's basically what happens. But must be a severe deficiency of sulfur. Okay. So to answer these questions, we put down a sulfur rate trial here in Minot. The rates we used was 0, 10, 20, 30, and 40 pounds an acre. We use as the source ammonium sulfate, and we put down at the mid-row band at planting, and we evaluated yield. Okay. Uh, Here's the results. So basically, with 0 and 40 pounds an acre of sulfur, we didn't see any response in yield for sulfur. No response. So we are planning to do it again this coming season just to confirm. Um, One thing that's important here is um, in terms of why we see in other the soil testing. Okay. Uh, why we didn't consider soil testing. So soil testing for sulfur, it's kind of a very complicated. So because like I mentioned before, the sulfur deficiency can cause a problem on rhizobium infection and future exchange of nitrogen for the plant. But then you can ask me, okay, can I look at the soil test? Yeah, you can look at it, but it, it's not reliable. Okay, as long as it's not zero. Okay, the number after that, it's not too much relevant. Um, but anyways, it's kind of a complicated this year, this situation here because of the profitability. So to put down a sulfur rate just because the soybean needs sulfur, and then you apply just to make sure you don't have the deficiency because the soil test is not that reliable. If you want to go that route, I would put probably 10 just to be safe, but no more than that. Okay. Uh, in terms of soybeans inoculation, um, we why it matters again, it's because rhizobium provide nitrogen for free, right? It's a good practice. We don't have to put any nitrogen in the soybeans because we're going to have everything or the most part coming from the rhizobium. One concern uh, we had was there's a lot of new soybeans fields in Western North Dakota, and some of the fields, the rotation were over 5 years. Okay. And then last year, we put down this trial across several locations in the state. So we have locations in Minot, Dickinson, Hettinger, and Williston. Uh, we have 12 treatments, no inoculant. We had liquid, 1, 2, and 3 times the recommended rate. Granular, 1, 2, and 3 times the recommended rate. A combination of liquid and granular, 1 time the recommended rate. 20 pounds an acre of nitrogen. 20 pounds an acre of nitrogen plus liquid inoculant at the recommended rate. 20 pounds an acre plus 1 time the recommended rate and granular. And I think only here in Minot we had 300 pounds of nitrogen per acre, which is the standard for when we evaluate rhizobium. Okay. And of course, this 300 is not economical, but we need to have those because that's the amount that the soybean needs to complete the cycle, at least 300 pounds an acre uh, of nitrogen. Okay. So here are our treatments on the Y, and here is the relative yield of soybeans. Okay. So basically, what we had is our highest yield was 300 pounds of nitrogen per acre, followed by 3 times liquid, which was the closest to the check of 300 pounds, and followed by 20 pounds an acre of nitrogen and 1 time liquid plus 20 pounds of acre per acre of nitrogen. Okay. So it looks like we had a little bit of response here. Maybe Victor can elaborate after the finish my presentation. He can bring up what happened in the other locations, but that's basically what we found here in Minot. Okay, so we're probably gonna get a better or not a better, but an updated recommendation after we finish the second year of those trials in 2026. On the same topic of inoculation, I did this year in Minot, this past year in 2025, inoculation with azospirillum. Okay, azospirillum is a plant growth promoter bacteria. There's no nitrogen fixation at all on this particular azospirillum. Okay, it's a bacteria found in 1973. It was discovered in Brazil on cereals. Okay, and they found that this azospirillum can be beneficial for enhances the root development and especially on hormones related to stress and root growth. Okay, it was found in Brazil in '76, but don't worry, guys, it's been around the planet for at least 2 billion years. Okay, so in Brazil they found it, and they found it that they can beneficial. So we can find azospirillum here uh, across any place in the planet for at least 2 billion years. Okay, it's been around for a while. In terms of the soybeans, azospirillum can help early inoculation benefits because of the root development, and then can do some induction of tolerance to abiotic stress because of the hormones that this bacteria can help with. Just to give an idea, today, 25% of the Brazilian soybeans are co-inoculated with azospirillum. Okay, it's getting a lot of tracking there. Um, so that's something that I decided to test it out over here. Where this azospirillum I tested here came from? Came from a company called Earth Microbial in Canada. They selected this azospirillum strain in the Canadian prairies, so pretty close from us here. That's why I decided to give it a try. If I get, there's a lot of azospirillum in the market, guys, tons. The only concern that I have is they probably gonna get this azospirillum from Brazil and replicate it here and sell it, and it's not gonna work. Okay, I'm not saying that yeah, you got my point. So if you want some microorganism that you put in the soil and then is going to make it work over here, it must be selected in the area, okay? Because there's a more it's kind of a self-explanatory, right? If you get a microbial developed in the tropical country and then you come over here and put in a cold weather, uh, if you expect that it will do the same, it won't. Okay. That's kind of an insanity to me. But that's why I decided to use this one because it was selected in Canada. Okay. So what we did was pretty simple. Pretty simple. We did a field trial in Minot. The treatments that we put it down was check with no inoculation. We inoculated with rhizobium. We did a co-inoculation with rhizobium and azospirillum, and our 300 pounds of acres per 300 pounds of nitrogen per acre, which is the standard for inoculation studies. Okay, and here's the results. So basically, we got the highest yield was our check with 300 pounds of nitrogen, but no inoculation, and co-inoculation, no response. So at this point in time, even inoculation didn't do anything. This is a field with a history of soybeans for at least 15 years. Okay, so there's a very good population of rhizobium in there, and then you might ask why the inoculation is not working, right? So the commercial. That's because probably our soils, the population in the soil, is probably enough to support support the soybeans. Okay. Change a little bit of topics. Now I'm gonna show uh, some studies with soybeans and cover crop we have been doing here in Minot and the Western North Dakota. The reason we did it's because of the two topics, erosion and weeds. And you guys know, every time we harvest the soybeans, we put down the header all the way down because some of the pods are almost touching the soil, right? And then we ended up with this kind of scenario. Okay. So this is soybean fields across Ward County and McHenry County a few years ago. Okay. So we have a lot of erosion problems after harvest. You can see all the residue come along. So all the residue over here should be over there. But the problem is we don't have anything to hold this residue over there, right? So this is a continuation. When I walk here in this ditch, I could bury my leg until knee high in this residue. Okay. So that's something that doesn't look great for us. So, and also the wind blows too, right? So this is a soybean field, and we can see uh, all the blowing going around and doing the damage. And of course, I know you guys don't have this problem, but we do, kochia, right? Kochia, it's a very problematic weeds around here. As you can see, the dark greener is soybeans, and the light green over here, as you can see, is kochia. Okay, so we have to tackle this, and maybe how can we use cover crop as a way to like suppress kochia? We know rye is a very good one on suppressing kochia, and we can leave the soil after harvest with some cover, so we can catch the snow and keep the residue where they should be kept. Okay, so we did this trial with two row spacing, narrow and wide. So narrow, everything between 7.5 to 10, and wide, everything from 22 to 30. The cover crop treatments we used was no cover crop, rye, rye and winter canola, rye and winter camelina, and rye, oats, and radish. We we used two seeding time, R2 and R5. Okay, R2 just a way to so we could catch the rain we get at the flowering, and our R5 the same way. So if we can get some late rain and so that the plants can germinate. And we did in 5 locations: Minot, Williston, Nassen Valley, Dickinson, and Hettinger. Okay. Uh, this is for Minot. I'm gonna present only for Minot, but this is just uh, the operation dates for what we did. Okay. So basically, we put down the cover crop seeded in July at R2, and September 15th on R5. We harvested in October 16th, and we did some soil cover and soil moisture on November 17th. Okay, and our planting date was June 2nd. So this is a picture of wide rows on rye where we put down the rye on R2. Okay, you can see over here the greenish from the rye. This picture was taken right after harvest. This is the wide rows R5 and rye. You can see the rye very spotty. Okay, and the I forgot to mention everything was broadcasted. Okay, the cover crops were broadcasted. Uh, on R2, narrow rows R2 rye, you can see a little bit better coverage. And R5, pretty much the same as a wide. Okay, you don't see much plants growing. There's a little skips. So basically, when we put down cover crop growing with the soybeans, the first thing we need to see if is there any impact in yield first. Okay, so we are using the same space to grow one or more crops. So our cash crop is the soybeans. So when we put down the cover crops, we don't want to see any yield penalty, right? So basically here, there's no statistical difference. No matter what cover crop we use it, no differences in yield. In terms of soil moisture, okay? There's a huge concern about soil moisture. If I put down my cover crop, uh, you will suck up the moisture, and then we're gonna have trouble next season. So This was evaluated in November 17th. So soil moisture 0 to 3 inches and 0 to 8 inches, no difference. Okay. No matter what, if we use cover crop or not, no difference. In terms of soil cover, okay. So the highest soil cover we got was rye at R2 and rye and winter canola at R2. So there was the highest soil cover we had. In terms of cover crop biomass, we got the highest would be rye at R2 and rye and winter canola at R2, 300 pounds an acre of cover crop biomass, followed by rye at R5 and followed by rye, oats, and radish at R2. Okay. Um, just take a look on the biomass, okay? Because sometimes people say, oh, well, I'm going to do all these things for only 300 pounds of biomass. Just take a look on this, okay? So those are cover crops, or well, some of those are not cover crop, but they are canola. But anyways, one of my point is here is look at the roots down here. Even if we have like a very small amount of biomass above ground, we have all the benefits over here. Okay. Look at the canola. Look at the radish. Even though the radish is small, look how deep it goes, how the volume. Okay. Look at the radish, rye, and oats. Okay. So we have all this massive root system on the soil profile. Okay. So why this is important? This is what we call the soil aggradation climb. Okay. I'm not gonna uh, take too much time here just to explain this, but as everything you can see over here in brown in this letter over here, that's what we call invisible and dynamic process. Okay, so it's the biological activity, organic matter turnover, so we can improve the nutrient cycling until we start to see the visible outcomes like the improved soil structure, improved water availability, and then of course yield, profitability, and resilience. So when we put down cover crop in a system that has been nothing, it will take a while until we climb this ladder. Okay, and everything is related to the water use efficiency. Okay, because when we put down a cover crop, we are changing the evapotranspiration. I'm not going to be nerdy here on this equation, okay? But that's when we put down the cover crop, we are going to change the sensible heat flux and the soil heat flux. Okay, so we're gonna increase the evapotranspiration. So basically, what I'm trying to saying is the changes in water use efficiency, they are directly a result of the covering the soil surface with residue or mulch. So that's why it's important for us to have some kind of a cover to not only improve the soil health aspect, but also to improve the water use efficiency. And then you say, okay, who's going to pay the cost for the cover crop? Because we don't see any yield bump in the next crop that will say, okay, I got 10 bushels more. So this 10 bushels more of X crop that I raised after the cover crop pay the cost of the seeds. That's why we have the cost sharing programs. Okay. So we did return on investments on this trial in several locations. Okay. With several cover crops we used, no cost sharing and cost sharing. Okay. Those are the costs over here. Okay. And the cost sharing, you put down $30 an acre, which is an average because you can find cost sharing from $18 to $70. Okay. So we decided to use 30. The bottom line is the only way you can have some of return on investment using cover crop is if you have cost sharing. Without cost sharing, it's going to be kind of a complicated to pencil in the costs. Okay. Um, I think I have one more topic. Is I think Anna already touched base on that. It's about seeding rates, and what it matters is because everything what Anna said before. Of course, seed rate is very crucial to maximizing yield, optimizing economic return, and we need update regional results. Okay, so we are doing an effort to get updated regional results for soybean rate, so Anna can improve her models, and then we can provide a better recommendation for you guys. So we did this trial last year here in Minot. We did use 5 seed rates: 75, 100, 150, 175, and 200,000 pure live seeds per acre. And that's what we got here. Okay, pretty much the same the same response that Anna had. Just so you know, I did this trial only with narrow. So our drill is 7.5. Next year we're gonna try to do 30 inches and 30 inches, 15 and 7.5. So we can have more data to support Anna on the future recommendations. Okay, but basically, um, after 150, you can get a little bit of yield improve, but it doesn't pay the cost. Sometimes we can go a little bit early, uh, a little bit less seeds. I'm a little concerned about it. I know some guys that I've been talking to, they push down to 90. But the one thing that I wanna share with you guys, if you decided to go on lower seed rates, and a touch based on that, it's because of this. Okay, so this is a soybean field in our area over here. Okay, you can see the plants. They decided to go a little less than 120. Uh, and then you look closer, okay, you can see some big gaps over here. All the yellows are big gaps, okay? Big gaps, small gaps. I just stopped it to do the yellow things because it's a lot of work to do. But you see a lot of gaps, and also you see a lot of doubles. Okay, you have skips, doubles, skips, doubles. Like Anna mentioned it before, soybeans has a very good plasticity. Okay, but there's a limit for that. Okay, soybeans cannot do miracle on that part. So if you decided to go in a lower rate, just make sure your drill, the air pressure and everything is working perfectly. Another thing is, don't go too fast. You know that, okay? But it's very important to highlight. Uh, if I think the train wreck combination is lower population and high speed with air seeder. Okay, even though if you have a very good calibration of air seeder, no leaking, the air pressure is good, and you still go above that you supposed to do, that's a recipe for a train wreck. I like to think about soybeans as by plant, uh, like how the plant can bring to me in terms of yield. So I that bugs me a lot when I see a lot of skips and doubles. I like to see more uniform. Okay, even though some of the results doesn't bring too much consistency on plant to plant space variation benefits of soybeans, but if you go lower on the on the on the seeding rates, do you know what you're losing here? Yield, lights, and everything. And this is a very good place for weeds to come up.